You know how people say people get stronger when they're in the face of danger, right? What you feel towards someone becomes stronger when you're in the face of danger of losing them. It's just, and that reserve of love and a feeling, you're not gonna always consciously feel that, because it's only there for certain moments or realizations, right? Moments when you need to fight for them, moments when you feel like you're gonna lose them. The body is gonna activate that, and it's gonna cause you to chase them, and you have no conscious control over that. When somebody pulls away and you love them, you are literally a slave to them. You will chase. You think you don't, and even if you know they're manipulating you, you will chase because you.
Like a boss.
And by the way, we're having a Black Friday special with the coupon code BLACK, or coupon code Friday, or coupon code Black Friday, where you could get all of my courses for 50% off. My course Emotional Mastery, 50% off. My course the Charisma Blueprint, 50% off. And all the other courses that I have, Nice Girl, Psychological Game of Attraction, Natural Chemistry. You could get 50% off by using that coupon code, all right? So click on the description down below. All right, people. So today we're going to be talking about how men realize that they're falling in love with you. First things first, falling in love is a process that's really more of a spectrum than anything else. You don't notice it until it happens. It's very similar to when the sun goes down. You notice the sun going down, but you can't really pinpoint when the sun officially went down until you realize the sun is not up no more. It's like not noticing that you're in a dream or how you got on the dream until you're there. That's the same thing when falling in love. People don't realize that they're in love with you until this happens, until the fear of losing you arises. There's something, I don't know the science behind it, but there's something that's subtle and that's suppressed and that's happening underneath the surface that a lot of us don't notice when we're falling in love. All we're experiencing is positive emotions, good relations, positive thoughts. But there comes a moment in time, a breaking point in any relationship, when you finally start realizing, okay, you know what? I think I'm falling in love with this person. That's when you start realizing that. And that happens when there is a pulling away from one of the partners. When there is a sense, when you felt like you know this was going to happen 100%, and then it didn't happen. When one of your expectations were broken, and now you have to reanalyze the whole situation.
If your targets become too used to you as the aggressor, they will give less of their own energy and the tension will slacken. You need to wake them up, turn the tables. Once they are under your spell, take a step back and they will start to come after you. Begin with a touch of aloofness, an unexpected non-appearance, a hint that you are growing bored. Stir the pot by seeming interested in someone else. Make none of this explicit. Let them only sense it, and their imagination will do the rest, creating the doubt you desire. Soon they will want to possess you physically, and restraint will go out the window. The goal is to have them fall into your arms of their own will.
So it could be that maybe you've been dating this person for like a few months or weeks, right? No, months. Well, weeks if you're toxic, right? Months. And everything's perfect. And in your mind, you talk to this person and you guys have a great connection with them. But then all of a sudden, they pull away. All of a sudden, they may cancel a date that maybe they usually don't cancel. Or maybe you noticed that in the last time you met them, they were acting suspiciously cold. But not enough for you to notice, but enough for you to sense it. And then the next date comes and they cancel. And then your heart drops. And just like a movie that when somebody dies, the character starts reminiscing the good times that you had with this person, right? Where they metaphorically died to you. And as a result, the brain then, and it brings out all of the emotions that were already there, right? Almost like part of the grieving process, where you're almost like cashing in, right? Where you were adding to that bank of emotion, And then when something negative happens, you cash out, and then you begin to experience and feel the emotions that were already there, right? It's almost like I said, it's like a savings account. And so when this person leaves, there's a flood of emotion in your brain where all of a sudden your hippocampus will start flooding you with images of doom and gloom, which is signals through cortisol, where you're going to begin to see vivid images of you being alone, of this person not liking you. But also you're going to start seeing an exaggerated, idealized version of them in your mind, where maybe you saw them in your mind and they were like me, but now you see them in your mind. All of a sudden there's a halo around them. There's like, oh, music and the color in your mind, literally what you're seeing in your mind is brighter. There's like a light shining from behind them, like this person is Jesus, right? And your body's gonna react to that intense vision with intense emotions, with maybe dopamine, perhaps, right? No, not dopamine. But the point is that it's gonna react to it, and that's gonna cause you to observe your current reality and want that reality. And it's gonna sap out the happiness, sap out the joy of being in this moment. And your brain is gonna say, the only way for me to enjoy this moment is to be with this person. And your identity would then be linked to this person. But that only happens when there is a fear of losing them. When you feel like maybe this is it. Maybe this is the moment that I'm gonna eventually lose them. But unfortunately, this doesn't happen a lot. And it's akin to having parents, right? You could go your whole life having your parents and never really truly feeling the actual love that you have for them because you've grown used to them. So the emotion of love that you have for them is pushed down in your consciousness, deep in your consciousness. It's there, don't get me wrong. It's what motivates you to still contact them. It's what motivates you, but that intense feeling is not always going to be there. It only comes out when you feel like you're going to lose them. And it is true. That feeling is really only there when you feel like you're losing them, as motivation to get them back. It's almost like that. It's like, you know how people say people get stronger when they're in the face of danger, right? What you feel towards someone becomes stronger when you're in the face of danger, of losing them. It's just, and that reserve of love and a feeling, you're not gonna always consciously feel that, because it's only there for certain moments of realizations, right? Moments when you need to fight for them, moments when you feel like you're gonna lose them. The body is gonna activate that, and it's gonna cause you to chase them, and you have no conscious control over that. When somebody pulls away and you love them, you are literally a slave to them. You will chase. You think you don't, and even if you know they're manipulating you, you will chase because
You want the seduced to engage their will in all its force to become active participants in the seduction. You want them to pursue you, hopelessly ensnaring themselves in your web in the process. The only way to accomplish this is to take a step back and make them anxious. You have strategically retreated before, but this is different. The target is falling for you now, and your retreat will lead to panicky thoughts. You are losing interest. It is somehow my fault. Perhaps it's something I've done. Rather than think you are rejecting them on your own, your targets will want to make this interpretation, since if the cause of the problem is something they have done, they have the power to win you back by changing their behavior. If you are simply rejecting them, on the other hand, they have no control.
Can't help yourself. The feeling is too strong. The compulsion, the gravitational pull is too intense. And for you to try and think that you could control that, it's a primal part, right? So that's the whole reason why. And you could almost, like, you know how people say countries are more united when at war, right? People are more united when there's war. Well, what unites people? Oxytocin, right? The love hormone. When you feel like you're at war and a country is trying to attack your country, all of a sudden the people around you, now you love them more. Now you feel one with them more. But the thing is, you can never really feel that feeling if that love is not there, right? Like, if a lot of people act like they hate the United States, like let's just say you're American, they think they hate the country, but I could promise you, God forbid, if a country literally attacked us and we were literally in a war with like freaking Russia or China, right? I could promise you, I hope that all of a sudden, some of those people who think they hate their country, all of a sudden they'll feel a love for their country. And a lot of people can only feel that if they're going to lose it. But what happens now? Most people know that this country, it's not going to be destroyed anytime soon, right? So what happens? Conformity happens. And so then you begin to resent this country. Then you begin to find reason to complain. It's like a bad marriage, right? And the only thing that will wake them up is the fear of having that thing which they value, but they're not aware of it. And that's the thing with love, right? Is that when you're in love with someone and you've gotten used to them, a lot of the times you forget how much you value this person. And unfortunately, only space and distance can activate and remind you of how much you actually love and appreciate them. Only space and distance can create that. If you don't create that space, if you don't create that distance, the danger that causes you to want to bring your loved ones closer to you, which is an emotional pull, doesn't create that. So a lot of the times, a lot of people love you in your life. And the thing is that when you do this, by taking a step back, you remind them of how much they love you. They end up respecting you more. They end up valuing you more. They end up being more romantic. I'm not kidding with you. They end up being more romantic, right? I'm the most romantic with someone when I feel like I'm about to lose them. That's just how it works. Romanticism always comes from a place of insecurity. So giving always comes from a place of insecurity. You give to be approved by them, to be loved by them, to show them how much you like them so that they can appreciate you back, right?
People always want to preserve hope. Now they will come to you, turn aggressive, thinking that will do the trick. They'll raise the erotic temperature. Understand, a person's willpower is directly linked to their libido, their erotic desire. When your victims are passively waiting for you, their erotic level is low. When they turn pursuer, getting involved in the process, brimming with tension and anxiety, the temperature is raised. So raise it as high as you can.
But unfortunately, if you never take that step back, you end up suffocating them. And you end up pushing them away. And you end up ruining something that could have potentially have worked out. Because you were pushing them away with your attention, right? It's one thing for somebody to not realize they love you and still love you. Eventually, they're going to realize it. You know what I'm saying? People eventually realize those things, right? It gets to a fever pitch, a point of intensity that you don't need a sharp dose of pain to remember the love that you have for them. It'll just flow out like a cup overflowing with water. It'll just flow out, right? Over the months. But there's something that could ruin it, and that's suffocating them. When you suffocate them with your presence, you are literally pouring venom over something good. It's like parents, right? We love our parents. We love our parents. But if your parents suffocate you, if your parent is all over you, the feeling of love that you have for them could potentially turn into resentment and indignation. Complete antithesis of the love that you feel for them. And you end up pushing them away because of that. And so with partners that were not biologically related, right? You could potentially ruin a potentially good relationship. Somebody that actually loves you because you're suffocating them with your presence because of your insecurities. And some suffocation, there's nothing wrong with you pursuing people, nothing wrong with that. I'm talking too much suffocation to the point where you start stressing them out. When you start annoying them, when they wish you could leave them the hell alone. And a lot of the times when you are insecure, you lose a certain dose of self-consciousness. You lose awareness of how you're coming across to people because you're so self-absorbed in your pain that you're not aware of how you're coming across. It's like somebody distracting you to look this way, but then they're pickpocketing you and taking something from you. You lose that self-awareness, and it is true. Trauma even numbs your body. When you have pain that you can't handle, your body becomes numb. You disassociate. And a lot of the times, this subtle disassociation is not like a psychosis, but this disassociation also comes with your lack of awareness of how you're coming across to people. Where you think you're coming across confident, but in reality, you're showing yourself. You're coming across insecure, and people can sense it because you're pushing them away. Always remember, the self is always coming through. The self is always coming through. So if you know you're somebody who's highly insecure, who cannot give people space, then most likely you're pushing people away. You're pushing people away. And you need to do something about it. You need to do something about it. Because you're ruining something that could... Think about it. In order to create a fire, what's the most important thing when it comes to creating a fire? Not just friction, but space. Blowing on it, giving it some oxygen. And when you give it oxygen, which is kind of like the opposite of like common sense, if you don't know about fire, you would think, why would you want to blow on it? When I blow on a candle, it blows out the fire. How does that work? Well, yeah, that's how it works. When you want to create a fire, you create space and distance, and it'll make the fire even more. It'll spread out to different parts, to different twigs, to different flammable things, and it'll create a bigger fire. But you got to blow on it. It's the same thing with love. In order for the fire of love to come out, because it's already there, you first have to give it space, give it some air, let the person breathe. Goddamn it, gotta let a motherfucker breathe. Right? But if you suffocate the fire all over it, it's going to run out. But remember, the key to this is that there has to be fire. There has to be love. There has to be some conflict so that you can reveal the type of love that you both feel for each other, right? So you have people who never allow conflict in a relationship because they're afraid that if there's conflict, they'll leave. Maybe they've had experiences where expressing how they feel or expressing conflict led to losing love. But what people have to understand is that conflict always reveals the state of the relationship. A sickness will reveal to you your immune system. A problem, a difficulty will reveal to you the strength of your state of mind. And conflict will reveal to you whether or not this is a relationship worth pursuing. For example, naturally, if you date someone, or even with friends, if you notice with friends, you naturally cancel plans. Naturally with friends, you're going to have conflict. Naturally with friends, you're going to have to maybe pull away sometimes and not talk to them. Or even say, hey, dude, like, I don't want to hang out today, right? You're naturally going to have some type of disagreement, and you're naturally going to disappoint them or even break a few promises, right? Unfortunately, when we love someone, some people try to insulate their partners from that reality. And that reality is that sometimes I got to cancel dates on you because I'm too tired or I have to go to work tomorrow. But some people are so insecure, which even I do that sometimes, that they're afraid to disappoint their partners, where even if they feel like they have to cancel, they don't. And that might happen multiple times a month, where maybe they had to cancel one date, or maybe the next day they hung out with their partners, but they didn't want to hang out. So they put on a happy face when in reality they wanted to leave. And all of those things, you usually express those types of issues if you don't like the person too much, right? Which explains why they end up liking us back. But sometimes what we don't notice is that by you not expressing that you might have to cancel a date, or that you don't like the way they were behaving, or that you don't feel like hanging out, or that I'm gonna be busy with work, or that you didn't respond on time because you were working. You not allowing this person to experience conflict with you, you're almost taking away the opportunity for them to actually feel the full love. Because it's only through conflict that you actually realize the connection that you have with this person.
When you withdraw, make it subtle. You are instilling unease. Your coldness or distance should dawn on your targets when they are alone, in the form of a poisonous doubt creeping into their mind. Their paranoia will become self-generating. Your subtle step back will make them want to possess you, so they will willingly advance into your arms without being pushed. This is different from the strategy in which you are inflicting deep wounds, creating a pattern of pain and pleasure. There, the goal is to make your victims weak and dependent. Here, it is to make them active and aggressive.
Maybe you cancel the date, and because you canceling the date, the person might start thinking, oh wow, maybe they don't love me anymore, right? In the beginning. And that self-reflection will cause them to see the value of you, maybe for the first time. But that only happens when you disappoint them. And I am not telling you people to disappoint people. That's not what I'm telling you. I'm just saying you're human and you will disappoint them. You're going to say things that they might find offensive, and hopefully they tell you. And you see them getting disappointed in you or mad at you, might cause you to want to make them happy. And a lot of people are so afraid of confrontation that they miss out on the gains of reconciliation. When you are in conflict with people and then you guys get back together, you always feel a stronger bond, just like makeup sex. When you fight with a friend and then make up with them, don't make you can do makeup sex if you want, but you always feel like a deeper connection, because it's almost like the conflict allows you guys to see that you guys like each other more, right? And whenever you don't allow that natural reconciliation to happen, you miss out on some love gains. You just do, because fighting or having conflict with someone and then coming to a healthy resolution always makes the relationship stronger. And I can only imagine, I can't quantify, but I can only imagine how much love people leave on the table, all because they're not willing to confront and reconciliate. And so the relationship stays in this stale state where conflict doesn't happen, but everything is eroded. Or maybe they took a long time to text you back because they were working. And in that period of you waiting, your mind was going crazy. But if they were so insecure, where even if they were fucking doing brain surgery to put down the hippocampus to respond to you, you never really experienced that distance. If they were actually secure, they would have seen your text, not texted you back, and you would have naturally felt that fear naturally because she's working. And you would have experienced that. But then once they texted you, you would have felt happy. But if they were insecure, you would have never felt that. If you're actually secure, these are things that you're just going to do naturally. You're going to not interrupt the work that you're doing to text them back. You're going to put your phone on do not disturb more because maybe you're working. And so naturally you may not respond on time because you're working. But if you're always suffocating them with your presence, you're never going to put your phone on do not disturb mode. And they're never going to wait to get a response from you because you're always going to respond. And I'm not saying to be manipulative. I'm just showing you the natural things that happen. With friends, we don't text back on time all the time. With friends, we don't always go to all the events. And so there's a natural appreciation for your friends who are themselves. And to be yourself means to sometimes be inconsistent, to sometimes not always be in the same mood. Where you're with them, you're always giving them the psycho happy face. No, motherfucker, stop it. You're creepy. All right? If you don't feel like you're in the mood to smile, don't smile. And because a lot of the times we're afraid to communicate that because we fear that we might lose them. But that's the point. You're communicating them that you're not afraid of losing them. The fuck do you think that's going to do? That's going to make them even chase harder. It's not a manipulation. If you're honest with yourself and you give the person space, and you focus on your life, and you're honest with them and say when you don't want to hang out, you express it, and you value your alone time, which is a healthy part of being human. These things you're gonna do naturally, and it's not gonna be manipulative. You're just gonna do it naturally. Expose people to distance sometimes. Expose them to not being around you all the time. Expose them to expressing your boundaries and say, hey, I didn't like this. Or expose them to say, hey, I don't like fucking Barbie dolls. I don't want to play with Barbie dolls. And expressing that. Saying no, right? When you love someone, you usually don't say no. All of those things are natural, man. And naturally comes when you have high self-esteem Or you do this a lot when you don't like the person, and that's why they end up liking you back. These are all natural things, people. Don't be afraid of conflict. Conflict reveals your character to them, and conflict reveals their character to you. Expose yourself to it. It's like a mom who doesn't expose their kids to bacteria. They never develop the immune system to it, right? How do you know how strong your relationship is? When you put them through conflict. How do you know how much they love you? When you put them through conflict. How do you know your immune system is strong? When you get sick and recover, right? So that's how you do it, man. Give people distance. You'd be surprised, man. Don't overestimate people's self-esteem, man. People have a much lower level of self-esteem than they appear a lot of the times. A lot of times people are highly insecure, but we're just good at hiding it. Don't buy into it. You'll notice, man. People, even me, man, you'll notice. You could use these strategies on me. They work. Because the emotion of love is so intense that it overrides any rational process. You know? Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys don't forget 50% off using the coupon code Friday. Click on the description down below if you guys ever want to work with me one-on-one, and I'll see you guys later.